Us Aussies are a friendly bunch. We like to give everyone a fair go, enjoy backing an underdog, and celebrating with a tinny or six. I can't draw. No big deal, just can't. But being the egalitarians we are, Australians freely support my shortcoming with comments such as these. So thanks a million. On the other hand, however, if something miraculous were to happen and I could suddenly put this together, whilst 2 in 5 people might tell me it's amazing and great work, the other 3 would likely deliver comments such as these. Majority wins, and I'll put this one away. Funnily enough, this all too popular nature even has a name for itself. Whilst in some cases this could be titled bullying or envy, it in fact has a much more official term, tall poppy syndrome. Australians are a good-natured class, but our tendency is to cut down those whose successes shine brightly. If you're a good Aussie battler, you're great. But if you're winning, then all of a sudden your friends are going to have something to say about it. As supported by Marcus Pearce, it's like people want to deflate our tyres while we're celebrating our victories. Take Australian actress Margot Robbie, for example. After making a name for herself in Hollywood, she was asked by Vanity Fair magazine if people back home were proud of her successes. She replied, "There's a thing in Australia called tall poppy syndrome. Have you heard of it? It's a pretty prevalent thing. They even teach it in schools. Poppies are tall flowers, but they don't grow taller than the rest of the flowers. So there's this mentality in Australia where people are really happy for you to do well. You just can't do better than everyone else, or they'll cut you down to size." Tall poppy syndrome is believed to date back to time before Aristotle. A Roman king, Lucius Tarquinius Superbus, fought a war with Latin city of Gabii because they rejected a treaty with Rome. The king sent his son Sextus to the city under false pretenses. When the son gained confidence and trust in the city, he sent a messenger back to his father for further instructions. The king didn't use any words, but simply took a stick and struck it across a field of poppies, cutting down all the tallest ones. The messenger interpreted this action as to cut down all the brightest and most influential people in the city. The phrase has become most commonly used, however, when in 1931 Jack Lang, Premier of New South Wales, described his egalitarian policies as cutting the heads off tall poppies. Although egalitarianism is deemed a noble status, it has also significantly contributed to Australia's resentful attitude. An egalitarian society means that everybody is equal and no one should be regarded as higher than anyone else. So for Australians, anyone who appears distinguishable, we relegate them back into the common draw with everyone who pulled them down. Not quite ideal for a thriving society which we wish to be a part of. This idea of egalitarianism and tall poppy syndrome can be placed under Max Weber's social concept, the zero-sum game. In the zero-sum game, power and prestige is a commodity which cannot be created nor destroyed. Now this means that for someone to rise in status, another must fall. The person who has more prestige is purely an obstacle for another to gain the same prestige. Humiliating or sabotaging a popular member of the group will lower that person's status and thus make it possible for the aggressor to supplant him in the group hierarchy. Quite similarly, a related concept is Damien Christoph's crab in the bucket scenario. When one of us starts to claw out of the proverbial bucket, the others in there think, if I can't get out, he's not getting out either. This crab mentality is colloquially referred to in Australian terms as cutting them off at the knees when someone starts to find a way out of the status quo. Despite Australians' idolisation of sports stars, the moment there is an instance of failure or even sign of weakness, we pounce. From experience, rugby league star David Campese acknowledged the phenomena, claiming, "When you do something wrong, it's like you're the worst person in the world, and they forget about all the good you did for the past 10 years. Based on contemporary experiences, I bet someone here right now is wanting to point out that I spelt "your" incorrectly. Don't worry, it's okay, because other than being embedded into our culture, there's a greater source you could and probably should blame: the media. Since first appearing in print in 1979, many Australian stars have been subjected to our media's harsh headlines and untrue proclamations. Even much-loved environmentalist Steve Irwin had to read articles and blogs of media defamation. Before it became an honourable branding of his, Steve was harshly criticised by many for using the word crikey and for the way he dressed overseas. Quite petty and childish, hey? But being jealous of someone's success is never pretty. Perhaps the most recent and headlined occasion, however, is the contemporary lawsuit between Australian comedian and actor Rebel Wilson and Women's Day magazine publisher Bauer Media. In 2015, she was defamed by Australian media and portrayed as a liar and a cheat. Sarcastically, she thanked the shady Australian press for their tall poppy syndrome and rubbed salt into the wound by being awarded $4.5 million in damages. There is a great proverb that says we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. This is the profound impact of the tribe. Some of us go through life allowing our tribe to decide itself. Others go about creating a mastermind peer group that challenges them. Tall poppy syndrome occurs when the tribe pulls us back. A possible anecdote to this involves creating a tribe that pulls you forward. If you ever become a subject or victim of tall poppy syndrome, use these 5 tools to make your oppressor shamefaced. Firstly, use the power of gratitude. Secondly, don't argue with the people who don't think you can do it or put down your success. It's not worth it. Thirdly, if you want to change their mind, do what they said you couldn't do. That'll unsettle them. Fourthly, recognize the fear factor. And finally, plan to make it happen. A little reminder though, if you are the critic. If you haven't got anything nice to say, don't say it at all.